the top, baby, don't stop. You can have it, you can have it all. Let's go to the top, baby, don't stop. Love, joy, peace, good life and family. We'll in success. Let's go.
Welcome to the Tankard Show. Listen, we got a great topic for you today. No more excuses. Doing big business. Listen, there's no reason why you can't be doing big business if you want to. So stay tuned for my guest, Marquita Miller. We'll be right back.
Congratulations to the Impact Network and its founders, Apostle Wayne T. and Dr. Beverly Y. Jackson, for now becoming the only African-American founded and operated international Christian TV network, bringing the gospel to Africa, including over 40 countries and 900 million viewers. We salute you.
Welcome back to the Jewel Tankard Show right here on the Impact Network. Now it's time for Millionaire's Madness. Millionaire tip today is get used to stepping out into unfamiliar territory. Listen, let me tell you something. If you saved, God didn't save you to stay the same. He didn't save you to think the same. He didn't save you to be the same. And many times, this is what I found. I could be wrong, but many times what I found with believers in particularly, even though this is not just for believers, but I'm just talking to y'all for a minute, hold on, is a lot of times we get saved and get stuck. No, God called you to change, to evolve, to grow. Listen, where he's called you to many times is not going to be within the four walls of the church. Many times he's called you into politics, into social reform, into education. He's called you into business. Listen, you cannot impact the world and make a name and leave a mark on this world that cannot be erased if you scared. So that means you're going to have to get your behind up and get around some folks that are courageous, that will encourage you. Many things that I do, I am clueless on. I had never done reality TV before, and quite well I did Amateur Millionaires Club one time, and you know, it was a little bit different, but when I did Thicker Than Water on Bravo, it was a whole nother level. And I'm going to tell you right now, we had some pastors tell us, you don't need to be doing that because there's no way in the world that you and your husband should be pastors on reality TV. You don't have no business being on reality TV. But my thing is, are we going to just keep sitting around talking about it's a hot mess, or are we going to take the opportunity when the door comes to come on and demonstrate something different? Just because you have conflict don't mean you got to cuss each other out. Just because you have conflict don't mean you got to fight. So how can we be a change unless we are willing to do something that we have not done before? And I can tell you right now, it was very uncomfortable because I felt very vulnerable, but I'm glad I did it because it's made an impact. We've had 2 successful seasons, and wait and see what's going to happen next. We'll be right back. Hey, now it's time for Financial Watch. In the news today, let's talk about the switch in the 21st century business. And I will share 8 non-traditional business ideas that took off this year. Pay close attention. An article in Business News Daily says that now is a better time to be an entrepreneur. Technology is more powerful and affordable than ever, and social media has definitely made it possible to promote your business in ways that are often more effective than expensive advertising campaigns. I mean, you see now marketing companies have had to change their strategy because social media is so effective. If you need startup funds, you got to get it going. Crowdfunding, alternative lending sites are making it much easier to get your business off the ground. So a couple businesses are recycling pickup, software trainer, healthcare consultant, food truck, traveling, salon contracting, and freelancing. And so that's it for our Financial Watch today.
Congratulations to the Impact Network and its founders, Apostle Wayne T. and Dr. Beverly Y. Jackson, for now becoming the only African-American founded and operated international Christian TV network, bringing the gospel to Africa, including over 40 countries and 900 million viewers. We salute you.
Impact is
Social.
Impact is fearless, unafraid to speak the truth in love, committed to be a voice for those who have no voice and ready to listen. Prepared to stand up for what is right, no matter the consequence, working to correct injustice, whether political or social. The Impact Network, for the spirit, soul, and body. Impact is yours.
Impact is
Social.
Impact is liberating, presenting life in its fullest and releasing your greatest potential, uncovering your purpose and your destiny, bringing spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, and financial empowerment so you're free.
Welcome back to the Tankard Show right here on the Impact Network. And I'm sitting here with my guest entrepreneur, Marquita Miller. Hey, girl. Welcome to the show. Thank you. Good to have you on. Now, listen, I'm hearing all this stuff. You're doing it big in Kansas City. I mean, making big waves, huge moves, expanding across the globe. And then you're also an entrepreneur, a motivational speaker, author of the acclaimed book, Faithpreneur. Now, girl, I didn't like that. God is not an agent for your failure, but for your success. Come on now here. So tell me a little bit about being a woman in business and your background.
Absolutely. Well, I have been in business for 15 years.
Oh.
And so my background, my dad was an entrepreneur, and so he instilled that in us from a small age.
Oh, wow.
He would always say, you're going to either be an asset or a liability. You pick.
All right now. Now, what kind of business was your dad in?
He had a catering business. Now, do not be confused. I cannot cook.
Okay.
So I just picked up the entrepreneurial spirit.
Okay.
But yes, and so he really instilled that you want to have ownership.
Okay. So did
And
you
so-
kind of always know you were going to be in business?
Absolutely. I mean, because he literally would tell you, I just want to go skating. No, are you an asset or are you a liability?
Yeah.
No, I just want to go skating.
Yeah.
So, but it was really great because it helped us at a young age to understand ownership.
Okay, that's good. Now, let's talk a little bit about taking the leap, because obviously you
Yes.
said the last 15 years, so before that you were in corporate America. Talk about what did that look like, and if a person wants to be an entrepreneur, but they're not really ready to take on that full responsibility, what did your leap look like, and what would you recommend?
Well, I will tell you, my leap was all in. And I'm a kind of a person that I believe in be all in, because there's something about being between both worlds that you just don't have to own either one.
Okay.
But when you're all in, then that means everything you've got is all in that.
Yeah.
And so you've got to succeed, because
Right.
there's no turning back.
Yeah.
And so, I was used to that direct deposit every 2 weeks. That was great to show up. But in
Yeah.
the world of entrepreneurship, you are dependent on the customer to pay you. So
Right.
I learned faith really quickly.
Okay.
Because every day was a faith walk.
Right.
I mean, you had to, and it really taught me that the word did not stop on Sunday and Wednesday. The word had to go into the business, because as we talk in church, from the standpoint of call it, claim it, decree it, that same principle I had to bring into my business for it to succeed. I had to call forth the paying customers, not just customers,
Right.
the paying
I know
customers,
that's right.
paying customers
Yeah.
into the company. And so
good.
I'm just an advocate of being all in and do it scared, because I think that when you can go both worlds, you kind of cheat both worlds.
Yeah, you don't fully. So what was that moment that you said, okay, I can't do this no more, I got to do my own thing?
I can tell you, I was at a service at church, and my pastor said, if not now, then when?
All right.
And I knew that word was for me. It was a Sunday morning. I will never forget it. And so I said, it's time. So my husband was in agreement, and he was already an entrepreneur. So that meant two people that were going to be entrepreneurs. And so to give you a hint about entrepreneurship, if you don't make any money, then you're unemployed. See, entrepreneurship and unemployment kind of run together. So, but I went all in.
Wow.
And it was phenomenal. But I did learn some real, faith became critical.
Okay, so you and your husband did this at the same time?
He was already in business.
Oh.
Yes. And so I was working and had what we would call the stable job, if you will.
Okay.
And so, but then I took the leap of faith.
Wow.
And it was well worth it.
Okay, so once you got in business, because we know that a lot of businesses don't survive those first
Right.
couple of years, you know what I mean? They're not thriving.
Absolutely,
They're
yeah.
just surviving. So were your first couple of years, did you just automatically start making a lot of money, enough to pay all the bills, or were you?
No. I call it the qualification stage.
Okay.
Where you're going to come face to face with yourself.
Okay.
You're also going to determine if was this a good idea or a God idea.
Okay.
And that's why I'm an advocate for doing what God tells you to do.
Yeah.
Because in that midst of it, I literally that first year was almost a nightmare.
Oh, wow.
But in the midst of it, I knew God had called me to it.
Okay.
And I had to determine, and I had to know, number one, that it was bigger than me, and that why I needed to be an entrepreneur. And that my money had a mission. So those things allowed me to begin to soar, if you will. But in the beginning, it wasn't even thriving. It was a mess.
Oh,
because
really? Okay.
customers were, you know, it's one thing to believe in what you do, but it's another thing that when you're an entrepreneur, you've got to convince people to pay you.
Right.
That's a whole nother that's a whole nother factor of it.
Wow.
So certainly owning an accounting firm and helping people to start businesses, I didn't realize that I was going to have to motivate people to believe in their dreams to pay for it.
Oh, wow.
And so because people
So you have an accounting firm?
Yes, I have an accounting firm.
Oh, wow,
Full service
girl.
accounting firm,
Oh, I
yes.
got to talk to you, honey. So, okay, so now you have an accounting firm. So how is it structured now? What was that turning point? Like, what if somebody
Yes.
calls, who do you service? Do you service the everyday guy, or do you mainly just service entrepreneurs?
Well, I'll tell you right now who we service currently are the entrepreneurs, but also because we offer tax preparation, we have individuals that we service. But when you sit in the chair with me, we're going to get a business started eventually, because I'm going to pull out of you your gifts, your talents, because I'm an advocate of entrepreneurship. We have to own it.
Right, absolutely.
We have to be able to own something. And so I realized that entrepreneurship has different shades and flavors from it. There are some people who are real estate investors. They're entrepreneurs. And so we do serve the entrepreneur. And
That's
so
good.
we've got customers that are in the beginning stages and they're believing God to see tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then we've got customers that are thriving and doing billion-dollar businesses.
Oh, wow.
So, but we respect both of them at the same principle, because what you don't know is that person that comes through the door, they may be the next Bill Gates.
Right.
And if you don't encourage them and support them and help them move forward, you won't see their success and they won't see it.
So coming to your accounting firm is not just about coming to get your taxes. It's an experience, because you want to make sure that they're at their best, that they're growing their business and taking that business to the next level.
Absolutely.
That's good. Do you have other accountants in your firm?
Yes, we do. We have individuals to take care of processing payroll, as well as 2 people that do tax preparation. I'm the only one that takes care of the business consulting right now, but soon we're going to be adding some people on from that. Then we have another lady that handles some of the accounting. So yeah, I believe in putting people in their lane and what they're strong in.
I love it.
So yes.
Now, what kind of business does your husband do?
Now, at that point, he was in a trucking business. That was before the whole trucking industry really went kind of crazy. But now we are in the same business. And so he does the business solution side.
Oh, the business solution.
Yes. So with computers.
Oh, IT.
Copy
Come on now.
machines. So he does that component of
That
the
is so
business.
good. I'm so proud of you. Listen, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours.
Dr. King, what's your next move? In March from Selma to Montgomery.
Selma is loud for every man, woman, and child.
We will not wait any longer.
In front of the crowd.
Thine eyes have seen the glory. Glory, glory, hallelujah.
Impact is digital.
Social.
Impact is community, where differences in background, color, culture, and thinking unified to provide solutions and spark innovation. Where thinking different makes you distinct and not an outsider. Where when a neighbor is weak, another comes in strength. The Impact Network.
Impact is digital.
Social.
Impact is liberating, presenting life in its fullest and releasing your greatest potential, uncovering your purpose and your destiny, bringing spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, and financial empowerment so you're free to live your calling. The Impact Network.
Welcome back to the Tankard Show. We were just talking about Marquita Miller and her husband, how he was in the trucking industry, but then he ended up coming on board, and he's with the accounting firm, and he's doing the business solution side.
Yes, well, we have solutions that we provide for equipment replacement. A lot of times business owners will make a decision of getting high lease payments, and then they're tying up their cash flow when you can outright purchase that and own it. But also he's now rolling out the insurance. So we've got 5-Star Insurance Group that is coming out in July. So we're really excited about that. So just
so what kind of insurance?
We're starting with life insurance, because here's what I found out. As I did a survey over some of my clients for the last year, and we service 500 tax clients, only 40% had life insurance.
Oh, wow.
That's serious, because
that is
what
serious.
happens if something happens to that person?
Absolutely.
Now that family has to figure out how to take care of burial. They got to figure out how to take care of the expenses. So we said, what? Business owners, entrepreneurs, provide solutions to problems.
That is awesome.
So that's why we added that
for that. So let me ask you, how has it been working with your husband in business? I mean, is it pretty sweatless, or do you guys ever have any challenges with seeing eye to eye? I mean, what does that look like?
Absolutely. We're two very different business people. And so the employees probably love it when he's not there, because I'm more hands off, do your job, and he's more hands on, let me know what you're doing. So, you know, we had to learn to work together, and we had to learn what I do well and what he does well.
Now, was there ever a time where you tried to push him to say, honey, pull back, and did he ever try to push you and say, you need to get more involved?
I think I probably tried to pull him more, because at one point I wanted him to do taxes. And so it was totally funny. And so I sent him, I was like, go to the tax school, learn it, and come back. You can be a preparer. And he did not like it. And so I enjoy it. He didn't enjoy it. So you have to find your niche. You have to find where it fits.
Yeah, find your niche, exactly. So do you guys have business meetings on a regular basis, or?
Oh, absolutely. Our kids say that the house is a business entrepreneur meeting every day. but yeah, absolutely, because it's our world. Entrepreneurship it's not something you do part-time. It impacts everyone in the household. Because when you win, everybody wins.
Everybody wins. No, you're absolutely right. So let me ask you this. What advice would you give a person, especially and particularly a woman, who says, listen, I want to be in business for myself. My husband is really not supporting me being in business myself. He wants me to have a steady paycheck. What would be your advice to that girl?
I would say that that I would not want confusion in our home, number one. So I would say to honor what the husband's request is, but to work the business part-time. But I would tell her to work it so crazy that the revenue from the business exceeds that job, so that she can say, now, are you in agreement with me doing this business?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think it's always interesting, because sometimes men are totally behind it, like go for it. But then there are other times when men are like, you're not leaving your job, you know, I don't care what happens. So I think at that point, like you said, maybe she needs to do a part-time and keep talking to him. And hopefully it'll soften his heart, so that hopefully he eventually can get on board. So let me ask you this. Women are more successful in business, of course, now than ever before. In your opinion, is entrepreneurship, whether full or part-time, something that every woman can achieve? Because this is like, how many children do you have?
4. Yeah, 4 children.
Girl, you got 4 children.
4 children. That's a full-time job too.
Ooh. So now, how were they when they? And they just came on the weekend, so I didn't have the responsibility of going to soccer games every day or picking up and dropping off every day, except for Cyrene. She was in the house with us. So I think it was a little bit more manageable, but I always really respect when women have full-time, 24 hours a day, you know what I mean, so to speak, children. So did you have help? Did you get a housekeeper, a nanny, or what?
Well, I had a mother that was very supportive, and so from she really stepped in to help. But I found that entrepreneurship had to be the way that I had to go, because that allowed me to own my time to a degree. Because customers are still your boss, and you need to be there when the customer wants you to be there. But it allowed me to balance it so that I could be there to go to the brownie meetings and the dance recitals and gymnastics and those things. But also, by the same token, there were times that my children were in the office at 3 in the morning sleeping on cots, so they can tell you about entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
Because they have lived it.
Were you able to make every game?
No, absolutely not. You know, and that's the bad thing. Sometimes you look back and you have some of those regrets, because you're like, well, I missed some things. But typically we were pretty good about being a husband and wife. One of us would go.
Try to go. You know, and I think, and I don't know, I'm half and half with that, because I almost feel like if I go to 100% of your games, I don't want you to ever feel like you can't excel. unless you see me out there. I think it's definitely very, important for parents to be there. I'm going to say about 80% of the time, because I know with our children, we probably made 80%, 20% we were traveling. I do think it's very important, but I never wanted to be that mom where I can't miss one game, otherwise your world collapses.
Right,
you know what I mean?
That's
I wanted them to have a sense of independence, and so, I think it probably all worked out. I'm sure your 4 children are strong as a result of it, because entrepreneurship also means that, there's a great deal of faith, which I'm sure you're going to talk about that in your book. Tell me, a person, who's this book for, and what are some of the key things that they're going to get out of it?
Well, for the individual that is willing to be a financial distribution center for the kingdom of God. When they say, you know what, God, if you give me the seed, if you put the seed in my hands,
all right,
I will be the tool.
I like the attitude.
That is what this book is about.
Yeah,
because it gives you a roadmap to success, how to start your business, but then also how to expand your business. Because a lot of times people can be in business, but they're not seeing the results that they'd like to see. So it can help you to move from where you're at to where you need to be. Because ultimately, a faithpreneur is an entrepreneur, but their why and their how is what makes them different.
God, ooh, that's so good, girl. I love that. Okay, so now do you feel like, are you going out and speaking?
Absolutely, yeah.
Where do you speak at?
Well, I had the awesome opportunity, privilege to speak. I spoke at the Bishop Jakes Pastor Leaders Conference last year on Faithpreneur, as well as MegaFest.
Oh,
yes. So I was really excited for that platform, but I do a lot of church conferences and also even secular conferences, because at the end of the day, everyone needs faith.
Right, absolutely.
For you to wake up to believe you're going to wake up tomorrow, that's faith.
Right, that's right. No, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. Now, your children, how old is your oldest?
My oldest is 24.
So are you starting to see the entrepreneur gene kick in with them yet, or are they still working that out?
We kind of mold in that way, but absolutely, I can say all 4 of the children have entrepreneur ideas and a spirit about it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And so we're still waiting for them to crack.
We're still waiting on actually, one of my, 2 of my daughters, actually 3 now, that all the girls, this was my son that's kind of got to get it together. But my girls, all of them have tried entrepreneurship. The youngest girls, they had a candy machine. They love to pick the money up out of the machine, but they didn't really like to refill the machine. So they had to experience being bought out by their dad, because we would not allow the machines to be empty.
Isn't that so good? But you see how your children have impacted that. Thank you so much for that. That was so good. Listen, now we want to play a game called What Would You Do? Okay? So this is what it is. All right. Josh and Kelly are a couple from San Antonio, Texas. They're newlyweds, but finances are about to end their marriage. Kelly's income is more than Josh's, but with both incomes combined, it's just barely enough to pay bills every month. If you were Josh and Kelly, what would you do?
Number one, I would assess the situation, because you've got to understand where the opportunities are. And when I say by opportunities, do you have an opportunity to cut some of your spending? Because a lot of times what we think is a need is really a want.
Okay, now but let me stop you there, because Kelly is making more money than Josh.
Right, okay. That's a whole nother situation.
That's a whole nother situation.
Absolutely.
I mean, I dealt with that in my first marriage, and it does not feel good, because that means you end up paying most of the bills. I mean, I'm sure some women out there who are like, I don't care as long as he's a good man. I'm like, I'm not paying all these bills. I know that. So tell me, because Kelly is making more money.
Right.
So I guess we got to assess if Kelly cares.
If Kelly cares, because there are some women that feel like this is the household money. And if they're making the money and the husband is able to stay at home with the children, then they're part of a partnership. So if Kelly's comfortable with that, then it's great. But if Kelly's not, then she may have to have a conversation, because he may need to step his game up some to bring the income in. But at the end of the day, it still goes back to it's a balanced equation. What's coming in, what's going out.
What's going out, yeah. I mean, I don't know. When I was married before, it made me feel very, I don't know, what's the word? I felt exposed, out of balance. I was like, I'm exposed, he can't carry me. You know what I mean? I wanted that feeling to know that if I don't want to work, that the bills are still going to get paid. You know what I mean? And that you're not sitting up talking about, did you get a bonus yet? Like, don't be coming get my check.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I don't know, but I think you're right. I think every woman is different, and they may not mind if, like you said, the husband is at home and spending time,
But you got to know what works.
And
when it doesn't work, you have to communicate that that's no longer working.
So now let me ask you this, because you're an accountant.
Yes.
And so this Josh and Kelly, situation, Do you see more and more that women are making more money than men?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see that quite a bit. And, you know, I'd say probably of the cases, about half are comfortable with it and the other half are not. And it can really it can lead to divorce if you don't address the issue. Because if their man has the ego and he's not comfortable with her owning, then it can be a competitive situation. That's never good, because you don't want to fight in your own house. You already got to fight against the world, but you don't want to fight at home.
Exactly.
So I think that you have to be truthful, and you have to deal with what works for your family.
What works for your family. And I think also women never want to come home and see I'm making all this money, I'm making, you know, doing all this, and you at home playing video games.
Oh, now that's never gonna work.
You know what I mean? Because
that's out of order, not out of balance. That's out of order.
Yeah, because I just feel like it's something in a man that he was created to dominate and to conquer. And so I guess even if it does work for her that he makes more money, I would always be concerned that, you know, does that allow him to come into the fullness of who God has called him to be?
That's very good.
If he can just say, you know, my girl got it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And
like, I want you to at least be trying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would think that and you know, I'm a little bit competitive, but I would think that most people would want to add their worth. Everybody, marriage is about bringing value add.
Bring the value. Bring the doggone value.
Jewel is really saying bring the money.
Bring the money. Okay. All right, thank you so much, Marquita, for coming on. I appreciate you. All right, now it's time for Reality Watch. All right, what do we have here today? Let's talk about Love Thy Sister. Oh my gosh, that's a great reality show. If you haven't seen it, you need to look it up. I think it's on OWN. But Love Thy Sister introduces viewers to a whole new kind of sisterhood. And kind of like our song, Thicker Than Water a little bit, but we're going to keep going. I'm talking about thicker today. Following the life of Ruby, Ellen, and Lone Rucker, they belong to one of the oldest and most prominent families in the Carolinas. This show displays downsizing, marital issues, disagreements, and much more. But at the end of the day, these sisters still love each other. You know, it's so interesting because you can see in this show, Love Thy Neighbor, that though they have all experienced success, one of them now is having to downsize. And downsizing is not always easy. And then you have someone else dealing with marital issues, and one of the sisters doesn't agree with the other sister. This is what I say. Understand that your family, there is no perfect family, first of all. And so I think when we get out of this fantasy that my family has to be perfect in order for me to deal with them, then you're never going to deal with your family. So many of you need to get over yourself and realize, just like you know their imperfections, you have imperfections too. Ooh, I said it. Yes, you do. You got imperfections too. Yeah. So you just got to get over yourself and say, you know what? This is my family. God has blessed me. If you have a mom and a dad that's still living, if you have siblings that are still living, do not spend a lot of time with foolishness, because you can spend a lot of time and the next thing you know, you 80 years old and was mad at somebody from years ago. Listen, family is family, but learn to love your family right where they are and give them grace and space and room to grow, just like you need space and room to grow. All right, so until next time on the Jill Tankard Show, remember, you can have it all.